Hey there, I'm hoping to share some of the information that I've learned and gotten from teachers regarding our Zoom EDU accounts. I have over here our agenda, and I'm going to start with the first section, which is the meeting settings, scheduling meetings, and talking about hosting and co-hosting and how to get those meetings on our calendar or link them to the resource that our coordinators have given to us. So I'm going to start actually by going to zoom.us. And I can click on my profile here, or I can click on upcoming meetings, and it's going to open this settings window here when I log in. So I'm going to go ahead and start with settings. I'm going to share with you a couple of settings that we've learned are best practices for us to set up behind the scenes before the meeting's even opened. So these are all settings available to us with our accounts, but we do have to turn those features on for them to show up when we're in a meeting. So I'm going to start by saying, yes, we do want a waiting room. This is the place where your students will be waiting for you when you haven't invited them into the meeting. They cannot see each other. It just puts them into one location where once you are ready to start the meeting, you'll get these little pop-ups that say, so-and-so is in your waiting room, and then you can admit them when you are ready. There are some options about customizing the waiting room. So one of the cool features we get with our EDU accounts is we can add an image. I can, if the students are waiting and I'm not letting them in I'm not hearing them enter the waiting room or I'm not noticing them, I can put my Google Voice number here. So I can customize that just a little bit. By default, a couple of these settings are already put into place, requiring passcodes and things like that. There's the place where I can edit my passcode. This feature, you do want this on. This embeds the passcode in your link. So the link that you're going to share with your coordinators and with your students is going to automatically have that passcode embedded. So you do need that turned on. I'll show you where to get that in a few minutes. And as we scroll down, I like to start with videos off just to give people that choice. The recommended sound is computer audio. Telephone audio is an option if you need that for your students, but according to the Zoom people, it makes things a little bit laggy. This option here, a lot of people have that turned off. It is recommended that you turn that on because what that does is instead of telling the participants the meeting has not started, it will actually put them in that waiting room to wait for you. So it just gives them that notification that you are going to see them when you're ready to start that meeting. It's kind of just that next layer of, okay, I'm in the right spot. The personal meeting ID, you are able to start meetings with your personal meeting ID. In fact, I did recommend that to a couple of teachers back before we got our EDU accounts. There was a button that indicated that once we had paid accounts, we would be able to change those personal meeting IDs, which is basically just your landing page, a place that you can just tell the kids to go to every single time. However, I found out with our EDU accounts, the only people that can change the ID is IT. And so in order to kind of take that burden off of IT to change those codes, I'm not going to recommend that we use personal meeting IDs. You can still have that enabled for your quick meetings and things like that. But I'm going to actually recommend that we schedule them, and I'll show you how to do that in just a few minutes. So that's the difference between a personal meeting ID and a Zoom generated ID, but it works the same way. I'll show you that in just a moment. I'm going to make sure that my participants are muted when they jump in. I'm going to go ahead and enable chat. You can turn that off during your meeting, so just have that there so it's a feature that you have access to. Private chat does allow the participants to one-to-one chat, and again, you can leave that on and turn that off in the meeting if you want to, or you can turn it off here. Do you like a sound when somebody's joining or leaving? I like any sound that tells me to pay attention to what's going on. And do we want everybody to hear the sound or just our hosts? And I'll save that. I'm going to scroll down here. I do recommend deselecting this survey. There's a survey that pops up at the end of your meetings. I do recommend that you turn that off so that your participants can just go straight to their next class. You can enable this one. It allows you to assign a co-host. We'll talk about co-hosts in just a few minutes. This one turns on the poll option. This one makes it so the toolbar doesn't disappear on you. I lose my toolbar all the time, so that just leaves that on there. This one I have on for today's meeting, showing windows during screen share. That just allows you to see what the teacher is seeing on the Zoom window end. Screen sharing on. You can toggle the screen share differently for during your meeting. So right now it's basically set so anybody can share their screen, but only the host can take over from participants. So it's not like the kids are fumbling over who's taking over the screen, and you can toggle that in the meeting. Annotation, we're going to turn that on so you can have your annotation and whiteboard space. Here they are. Nonverbal feedback turns on thumbs up, speed up, slow down kind of notifications so they don't have to interrupt the meeting or wave their arms frantically for a few minutes. If you do end up needing to remove a student from the class for whatever reason, this allows them to jump back in. I do have the renaming option turned off. You can change that during the meeting as well, but once they are in your waiting room, you're going to look at their names and see if they're in the right place and they're where they're supposed to be, and you're going to let them in. I don't necessarily want them changing that. Some teachers are using that as an incentive for the students, like, hey, you can earn this reward of changing your name if you want. Breakout rooms is an option that you can turn on. We'll talk about those later. I'm going to scroll all the way down here. Virtual background is a fun little way for us to kind of include a background in our Zoom window. You can toggle that on for the students or turn it off. Again, that's what some teachers are using for a reward. And I think that's mostly it here. Down here, just some email notification choices. So we're good. Everything is set up the way that I want it. So I'm going to go ahead and come to the top bar here and schedule my meeting. Okay, so I said that there was a way to make it so that you were using the same link every time. So I'm just going to call this topic Tammy's Meetings with an S. Every meeting that I have can use the same personal meeting ID, the same meeting ID, unless I need to change it for any reason. I'm going to leave that description blank because I'm going to use it for any meetings that I have. Down here, we'll talk about templates in just a minute. I'm going to skip all of these time things until I come down to recurring meeting, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. I'm going to say, yes, I want this meeting to happen multiple times. But when I come down here to recurrence, I'm not going to say daily or weekly or monthly. This is actually just to put it on your Zoom calendar. It's not actually scheduling the meeting to start and stop during any amount of time. But if you come down here to recurring meeting, no fixed time, it's just going to say, it's like a placeholder. It's like, hey, anytime Tammy wants a meeting, she's going to have this meeting code that Zoom is generating automatically. So you'll see it functions the same way as that personal meeting ID. The difference is I can change it if I need to. There's my passcode. I have a waiting room enabled. Here's just a couple of those settings that you saw before. We're going to talk about breakout rooms later on, but that's where you would pre-assign your breakout rooms. And this is where I want to talk a little bit about hosting. So let's say you have an instructional aide in your class, or at Star Academy, you have special teachers popping into your class. If you click on their name and make them co-hosts, they have most of the features that you have, with a couple of limitations, one being that they're not able to use the breakout rooms. They're not able to assign students to breakout rooms, start the breakout rooms, move students between the breakout rooms. So if that's a feature that you need your IA to help you control, for example, if they're in a breakout room and it's just not a good matchup and they need to move somebody, you want them to have hosting control versus co-hosting control so they can move those students. It's also co-hosts cannot add different co-hosts. So if an IA is needed in another place and they need to tag out with another instructional aide, they cannot just behind the scenes make that other person a co-host. You would need to do that manually for them. Or if you have, if you want to assign students to co-host, probably that is the right feature for students. Actually, I'd probably have them co-host. And if you add a host here, they can start your meeting. So again, Star Academy specialist teachers, if for some reason your Zoom closes, you are able to get back in the meeting and restart it. So I'm going to highly recommend that you use this host feature for important people that are in your classes. For example, instructional aides, specialist teachers. You might even add that sub at Natoma's charter account so that the subs can make sure that they have an opportunity to start your meeting. If you get kicked out, you can put your coordinators in here. I've already used Amanda today, so I'm not going to put her in here, but this is where you would put comma. And I realized I can't talk. You're going to put the .org. There we go. All right. So I'm not going to leave them in here because it does give them a notification, but that is where you're going to put your important people, and that gives them the ability to do lots of features. Co-hosts are able to still mute participants and things like that. So they do still have some control, but hosts have just that extra layer of control. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Now what this is going to do, it's going to save that meeting and generate a new meeting ID for me. There it is. There's Tammy's meeting. It's a recurring meeting. Here is my extra special meeting ID. I'm going to copy paste that into the document that my coordinator is having me use. My passcode, we remember that that's Imgarten. And what this link right here is this is your direct link that has your password embedded. So this is the one you're going to share with families, share with students, put in your Seesaw, put in your Schoology, put in your Google Invites, and add to that coordinator sheet. You can also, if you're putting it on your calendar, click that copy invitation and just kind of grab all of this. And I'm going to show you one more thing down at the bottom. I went through the trouble of kind of saving all of those settings so that I can get this class ready for students. So I'm going to go ahead and click down here where it says Save as a Meeting Template. And I'm going to call this Ready for Students, because all of those settings that I just chose are exactly what I want to have available to me when I'm with students. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. So that is pretty much it as far as getting the meeting settings set up, choosing my meeting information behind the scenes. I'm going to copy this. I think I already did. And then this is what I can then add to my calendar. I can then put in my Schoology. So I'm going to go to my calendar and just kind of show you this really quickly, hopefully. I'm going to create a meeting. And I'm going to call this Tammy's Zoom meetings. Now, I have a Zoom button here that'll kind of randomize a new meeting for me, but I'm going to go ahead and paste this under description, and I'm going to paste it right here because that gives me all of the information I need. And if I wanted to, I could even highlight the part that has the HTTPS and click this link button. And it's going to make that a link for me. There we go. So now I can turn this into a recurring meeting, and I can set this for whatever time I want. So this can be my meeting that reminds me of my meeting information. This is where I might click. I kind of use my Google Calendar to get to the different places, so I'm going to put it here. But the other thing you could do is when you know it's time for class, you can click it through Schoology. You can also just come here and you're going to go to, let's see, I'm just going to start from Zoom, US. And I'm going to find that meeting under the Meetings tab, and I'm just going to click it every time I'm ready to start class. So I'm going to jump into a meeting. Oops, the buttons moved when I got logged in. I'm going to go to my account. Meetings. And I'm going to go ahead and click that meeting right there, start it, and it's going to put me in that meeting. Let's go to our agenda, see if we did. So we have meeting settings, schedule meetings, kind of setting up those behind the scene hosts. We can do co-host while we're in the meeting. I'll show you that in just a few minutes. Add to the calendar. So we're going to go ahead and jump into Zoom. We're going to look at the interface, both kind of what the teachers see and what the students see. We're going to talk about screen sharing, the whiteboard mode, and annotation, polling, and then we'll jump into breakout rooms after that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my Zoom window, and here I am. You can see that my Not Tammy, that's my alternate ego, is there waiting in the waiting room. I'll bring her in just a moment. Let's see. When you are adding a participant that on a second device, what I do recommend, it asks me if I wanted to join with audio or without audio. I did join without audio so that it doesn't give me that feedback. So I joined on that device without audio. So I'm going to go ahead and let myself in here. And there I am. I have my camera off. So right now, I'm going to just start from the left and move to the right. Let me move my window up because my screencast device is kind of in the way here. So from the left to the right, there is my mute and unmute. If I click this little toggle arrow here, this is where you're going to set up. If for some reason you're not hearing yourself in your microphone or headphones, you're going to come to this little toggle arrow here, and you're going to do a test. So when you click that, it's going to check to see if I hear everything. And it looks good. So that is where I might say, oh, I'm not using my internal speakers. I'm going to use my external speakers. I'm going to use the TV that I'm connected to. My microphone, maybe you have an external microphone that you're using, you can use that. So that is pretty much it there as far as what's important. That's how you're going to change your sound. And if you don't hear something, that is a great place to start. Under video, this is where you can change to different cameras. This is where we can change our virtual backgrounds. It's not going to work so well because I don't have a good green screen behind me. You can kind of see all the weird stuff going on, but that is a feature that we have here. And that's pretty much it here as far as important things. So I'm going to keep going. Security is just helping us make some of those settings we talked about behind the scenes. I can lock the meeting so others cannot re-enter, rejoin. I have my waiting room already enabled. I could turn that off if I don't want anybody else jumping in. This is where I can say, you know what, I don't want not Tammy sharing her screen, so I'm going to turn that off. Chat is over here, and that allows me to chat with everyone or the participants. And in that security option, that allows me to turn that on and off. There's that rename. I already turned that off, so there it is. This is where if I have if I'm trying to do something where I am trying to keep the students focused on me and I don't want them to interrupt at this particular point, I'm going to turn that off and not let them unmute themselves. My default, I like to leave that on. I like to hear the kids when they're ready. This is where you would remove or report somebody for being too disruptive. I wouldn't report that, actually reports them to Zoom. Oh, that would be if somebody comes in your meeting unwanted. So in Meet, under security, there was the meeting information. That meeting information is right over here under this little I. So if you forget which meeting you're in and you need that meeting ID real quick, somebody's messaging you, emailing you, and you just need to get them in real quick, there it is right there. You can also copy it from there. So that's over here in this little I. I can click participants and it's going to turn this little tab over here to show me who is here. I can unmute myself. I can edit my profile picture. I can rename myself as long as the host has enabled it. There's my student. Here's what I can do with not Tammy. I can chat personally with her. It's going to change this little chat to private. I can ask her to turn her video on. And on my phone, it says here, host has asked you to start your video. So I could click quickly start my video and boom, I am on my video. You're probably going to look at the ceiling in the teaching and learning office. Yep. All right, I'm going to turn that off. Under the More button, I can make her the host. I can make her a co-host. I can rename her. I can put her in the waiting room, and that might be something that I use if she's just being a little bit disruptive. I can put her over there silently and just kind of go to the waiting room and have a conversation with her before bringing her back in. I can remove her. And then again, report is reporting to Zoom. That's not what we're going to do for our students. Here are some little buttons that the students can click as they are participating. So I can indicate, you see, yes, not Tammy just gave a little yes, I got it. Go faster, go slower. Nope, I disagree. Those are some features that we can do because we toggled that in the settings before we begin. Let's see here, there's chat. Share screen I'll talk about in just a moment. Polling is, we can set polls beforehand, or I can go ahead and edit a poll while I'm going here. Oh, so when I clicked that, it's taking me to my meeting and giving me a chance. And I'm going to say check-in. How are you doing today? I can also make this anonymous. I can go ahead and save it. All right, so now I can launch this poll and it's going to send it. Sorry, there's a fun coming up on here. All right, how are you doing today? Now on my phone, it's asking me how I'm doing. And I'm going to submit, and then it's going to give us how our students responded, and I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. So that is something that we can do while we are in our Zoom window here. We can record it. I was in Amanda's office earlier today, and that's how she records all her meetings for her students. She just comes in just like we are now by herself and just clicks record, and it will save to the cloud or it'll save on your computer so you can record your meetings. Breakout rooms we'll talk about. Reactions give us little buttons on our face. Wow, that was really exciting. That was really interesting. And then these are some buttons for going live. So I did say we were going to go back to the share screen button only because there's a couple of different options here. So when I click share screen, it's gonna, I have a lot of stuff open, you can see. So here I am showing you my desktop. So that's what is highlighted here. I can also use a whiteboard. And so when I say go ahead and share the whiteboard, it's going to give us that opportunity to draw and annotate here. using our mouse or trackpad. And on my student device, it just says hello right there. And there is a way, and I don't know if it's enabled by default. Let me test it here. There is a way for me to annotate as a participant. I'm going to click my pen. Yep, there I go. And you can see down here it says not Tammy. So we can share the pen if we're doing a math problem together, and I can turn that off. Let me remind myself where it is. You are screen share muted. I think it's actually here. No, the drop-down menu somewhere. I get all fumbly when I do stuff in new programs here. Thank you for your patience here. Maybe I can't do it in this window. Let me stop. I know I can do it in this window. Nope. I am all kinds of fumbled up here. Hold on. All right, share screen. Oh, here we go. One participant at a time. Nope, that's a different setting. Okay, let me play with that. I used it once. Okay, so in that share button, I can also use an iPhone or iPad if I'm using AirPlay. You can plug in a cable. I have not used those, to be quite honest. If somebody wants me to play with that, I just need an iPhone or iPad. I can choose different windows. And also, two of the things that I found in here today when I was watching the webinar is that I can share computer sound. So what that means is if I am planning on having my students walk into a nice calm room, I can click share computer sound and I can put my music on Spotify, like my favorite YouTube channel. I like the Disney instrumental channel. I can do that, and what will happen is it actually shares the sound that's in my computer. So it puts the music right out there, so it's a lot less laggy. The other thing I found is here, optimizing the screen share for video clips. So that would be if you're planning on watching a short clip like by YouTube with your students. This will optimize it so it'll be a lot less choppy and the sound should line up with the video. Not something that you would do for long videos because we don't know what our students are facing at home, but definitely something that you'll want to click if you're about to share a video. So I'm going to go ahead and click out of there. I do want to write down that whiteboard question. There's a way to take away the sharing button. I don't remember off the top of my head. So that is the screen sharing. You can also have multiple participants. I've never tried that. If anybody wants to try it, I'd be more than happy to do that. And I'm going to jump back to my presentation and see if I did everything I promised. There's the interface, the student interface. I'm on a phone, but you can see that I just have a lot fewer buttons. I have join with audio because I did not connect audio because I didn't want the feedback. There is start video, share, and that's only turned on if the teacher has set that in their settings. Participants, I can see all the other students. And I'll close that out. Under the more button, I can raise my hand, I can use the chat, and I can do some of those little pictures that popped up. I can't remember what they're called. So that is kind of the student interface. And if you were planning on using your iPad or second device as a like a dot cam, you would use that share button on your on your other device. You would sign in with your Gmail account, log in as the other device, and then you would be able to click share on your device. I sent out a little help sheet the other day that might make that just a little bit more clear because it's a little bit fumbly, but just something that you can do is you can use your second device, you would share from that device, and it would show for everybody. Speaking of screens, I did not talk about the different views here. So here we are in gallery view, puts the little icons so that you can see is up to, I think, 45 people. And then speaker view, whoever's talking, whoever's making sound, or whoever made sound last, or whoever has been spotlight by the teacher. So if not Tammy's video was on, actually spotlight would probably be another way that you could showcase what's on your phone. You could spotlight the camera on your phone. That would actually work pretty well too. All right, so here I am on my device. And how do I spotlight this one? This one's not showing me how to spotlight. I'm not sure. Let me leave that screen. Oh, there's my poll. Let me come. Let me just click it 3 times. All right. Spotlight, I'm not finding it. I'm going to put that on my list of things to figure out. I know a lot of you have used it way more than I have, so you're probably already experts on it. And you're just like, Tammy, it's right there. Okie dokie. So I'm going to jump over here. We talked about the interface, screen sharing, whiteboard mode, polling. Let's go on to breakout rooms. So breakout rooms are fairly easy to use in Zoom. You can use them on the fly. You all of a sudden realize, like, I want to do a think, pair, share. You're going to come down here to breakout rooms, and you're going to be able to, I'm going to recreate because I already played with this once. So here is my way to, I can move all the participants into breakout rooms automatically. I can allow them to jump back into the main session, because when I do a breakout room, basically the home base stays open and the students leave to go to these other rooms. I can set a timer. Boys and girls, I'm going to set you to 5 minutes, and it's going to automatically notify me and bring the kids back. I can also set a countdown timer. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend that there are a lot of kids in here, and I can manually assign students to these rooms. It's hard to showcase right now because I don't have a lot of students, and it's easier to see when it's in action. But basically, this is where I can add the rooms, move the students, and then I'm going to toggle between those rooms by clicking right here. I'm going to go ahead and open them. I'm going to jump into the different rooms by clicking join. So you're going to see right here, I have as a participant not joined my breakout room, but I have an invitation on my phone that says, Miss Imgarten has sent you to your rooms. I'm going to choose join, and now I'm going to jump into that room. So each of my students will be in their breakout rooms, and I can jump into those meetings. I can jump in here and say, yes, look at breakout 2, jump in here. It's a little harder to see when there's nobody in there. There we go. I click breakout rooms, and now I'm going to jump into breakout room 1, and that's where Not Tammy is. It's going to take a moment. So this is how you would toggle between the meetings. And then when I am muted. When time is up, you can broadcast. You can say, all right, make sure you completed 1, 3, 4. Broadcast. All the rooms get that message. I can also just close the rooms, and they have 60 seconds to leave, or the button will say leave now, and I'm just going to leave. Oops, I am getting a message from Mr. Millet asking how to break out the rooms. Sorry about that. Okay, so that is how we do the breakout rooms. So you can rotate through them, you can monitor them. I am in breakout room 1, so I think I'm about to be kicked out. I'm just going to leave. There we go. So I'm returning to the main session. So that main session stays open the whole time, so your students can potentially come back to you. I've seen teachers really successfully do their breakouts in Google Slides. And so you can see just at a glance by looking at your Google Slides how students are progressing, and you know which breakout room to jump into. So kind of having the work be done in a Google Slide, it helps you kind of keep track of that. There is breakout rooms. All right, so attendance reporting. When you get to the end of your meeting and you close it, I haven't done a recording. I can do a recording real quick. Record on the computer, record to the cloud. I'll record on this computer because the next one coming up is about recording. So attendance reporting, that is going to be something that you find inside your Zoom.us over here under reports. So what it's going to do is going to give you 2 helpful choices down here. When you go to the usage reports, it's going to offer you no data. It's going to offer you, it's because I'm still in the meeting, a CSV file, which gives you how much time the students were in the breakouts, or sorry, not in the breakouts, in the Zoom meeting. So it allows you to kind of have that data, and you can, the report displays information for meetings that ended at least 30 minutes ago. Okay, that's why I don't see it. So this is something that you can have to just, was so-and-so at this meeting? You can come back to this reports and get that information here. Let's go back to our agenda. The recordings, again, you can do that using the Zoom button here. There's the recording. I'm going to go ahead and stop it. It's going to be converted to an MP4 when the meeting is over. And then when I go to my zoom.us, it's going to be under recordings. And it's either going to have my cloud link here, or it's going to say, here is where your recording is on your computer. So that'll be in this little spot here. So there's my cloud. If I recorded on my computer, it's going to say, here's where your meeting was. I've not recorded any meetings in Zoom, so mine is blank. What's cool about doing it on the cloud is that it will give you a link that you can use right away. So once you have a recording down here, it'll say like live.zoom.com or something like that. It'll have this big long link, and you copy that and you can send that out. I would still recommend putting it on YouTube or in your drive just so you have a copy of it too. But that is something that Zoom does for you. And the waiting room, I already talked briefly about the waiting room, how you can set it so that it has kind of like an away message that's personalized for, hey, I'll be here in 5 minutes. Hey, class starts at 10 o'clock. And you can edit that in your settings. There are two things I wanted to talk about, and kind of I still need to do some thinking around, is how to pre-assign breakout rooms. So if you click this button here, it's going to take you to this kind of Padlet-like resource that has all the resources I picked out for you regarding Zoom. And one of them under breakout rooms is pre-assigning breakouts. What Zoom allows you to do is when you're starting a meeting, it allows you to pre-assign the breakouts. That's what Mr. Mole was texted me about. Hopefully he got it. I'll check on him in just a minute. You can pre-assign the breakout rooms, and you do that using a CSV file. So that is attached here at the Trello. If you come here and click the CSV, it's going to download a CSV on your computer. You're going to open it up in Excel, and you're going to basically say, all right, breakout room 1, here's the email address for all the kiddos that I want in breakout room 1. Breakout room 2, here's the kiddos for breakout room 2. The drawback I saw to this is that we as an NCS are trying to simplify things for our students during this tricky time. And when we assign our, I'm going to come over here to, sorry, I'm clicking a ton. I apologize. I'm going to go to the schedule meeting. When I'm scheduling my meetings, I'm not scheduling these for my periods. I'm scheduling these for every student that I have to come here. But I do, when I'm in this meeting, let me go to, I'm so sorry, I'm going to click some more. I'm going to go to my meetings, and I'm going to go show you that meeting that we created together before Tammy's meeting. So this is for all of my students. And so if I were to come to this and upload under breakout rooms, just edit. And then this is where I would load them up under breakouts, breakout room pre-assign. And I import it from the CSV, what's going to happen is I'm not going to necessarily have my classes by period here. So I think that the way that we would need to do this, and I haven't played with it, so work with me, tell me what works for you, but I almost think that we need to assign these rooms by period. So period 1 might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Period 2 might be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Period 3 might be 8, 11, 12, 13, 14. I haven't really thought through this or tried it yet, but I think that that might be the solution to the fact that I only want to upload this file once. I don't want to necessarily upload it multiple times. So I still need to play with that. But if you are just today, the only group that you're doing is advisory, or if you're at STAR and you have just the one group of students, you're going to go ahead and fill this out. You're going to save it. And in that breakout room pre-assign button, you're going to import it from the CSV. So what's going to happen is that when you jump into your breakout rooms, when you come to this breakout room button that says breakout rooms, it's going to give you the chance to use your pre-assigned rooms, and it's going to automatically filter the students in there if they signed in with their NCS accounts. Something to try, something to play with, something to explore for later. So I'm going to go back. I think that we have accomplished everything on our to-do list, and I'm sure that there are still other questions I haven't learned about yet. So I definitely need you to keep the questions coming, or keep the suggestions coming. You're the ones using this with the students. I'd love to save everybody the time and make things easier, but I'm going to go ahead and link like timestamps to this to hopefully really kind of make this simplified as possible for people. My tips here: use Zoom to record your lessons. So if you are pre-recording a lesson that you want to share with the students, use Zoom, and then it's going to give you that link that you can use at the end on the cloud. And then here's the share settings. I just learned about these today. Optimizing screen for the videos, share sound if you want to push sound right out to the students. All right, well, that is it for today, and I probably will be doing a little bit more work around this, but definitely keep me in mind if you have something you want me to explore. Have a great one. Hey there, I forgot to show one more thing, and I found an answer to 2 of my questions. So one other thing that I meant to share with you when you are sharing your screen is one of the other options that you have. Let's say that I'm sharing my Google Chrome window. So now I am in Zoom looking at my Google Chrome window. You'll see that I have this new toolbar here. It's called Annotate, the button on the toolbar. And that is where I can go ahead and start drawing something in here. So I can do whiteboard mode /annotate. That was something that I forgot to share with you. So you are able to have those options here. And then the other thing I was trying to do is I was trying to stop my participant from annotating when we were sharing the whiteboard. And that's actually in this More button. I just couldn't see it, but for some reason I didn't read what this said. It says disable attendee annotation. So if I want to be the only one that writes, I can go ahead and disable that during my meeting. And now my Not Tammy can no longer annotate over top of that. The other thing that I had to look into was I was trying to spotlight my participant, and that only works when you have 3 or more participants in. So that was why I wasn't seeing that menu option. So it'll be in the menu for them, but I just have to have more than 2 participants. And for whatever reason on my computer, I can only have 1 Zoom window open, which makes sense. It's an application that only supports 1. So that is another feature that we have. So we can spotlight by clicking the students in the link. We can annotate using this annotation toolbar that we get by clicking annotate. And we can stop attendees from annotating or resume their annotation in that More menu. All right, enjoy.